So do you think like console makers should be threatened by the Steam machine? Do you think Sony and Microsoft, maybe even Nintendo at this point, do you think they should be concerned or worried about the Steam machine? How you guys doing today? Welcome to another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Steam machine. As you guys know, this was just unveiled by Valve and it seems to have the gaming industry really excited. So we're going to talk about our surprise announcement of it, how we reacted to it. We're going to talk about some of the specs of it, performance, pricing, when we actually think this might be released, and so much more. So again, if you guys are excited about that, stay tuned for the rest of this. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Let's get right into this video. So today we have Chief on. Just want to get started with you, sir. What are your thoughts about the Steam machine, man? First of all, where were you when you heard of the announcement, and what was your reaction like?
Well, of course, I was where I normally am.
Chilling,
but,
yeah.
Chilling, I wish. Working, unfortunately. But Steam
Yeah.
Machine, fantastic news. Don't know how quite to take it, because obviously Steam Deck has been the focus for quite some time. Everybody's been asking for a Steam Machine for years.
Right.
As they've obviously hinted about it, but now they've finally come out and done it. I think it's taken everybody a bit by surprise.
Yeah.
One, at the size of the thing and the fact that they haven't given a price up front. And as some people have been saying on Twitter, it's actually fantastic marketing, because everybody's hyping it up and trying to figure out that price.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting because like you've seen a lot of people, even people who don't cover Steam stuff, talking about this, and like you're saying, speculating about the price point. So yeah, it's great marketing. Yeah, I was at work and I was with a client when the announcement happened, and it took me by surprise. I was like, oh my goodness, I need to do a video on this, but again, I didn't have all the information. And yeah, I'm excited about it. As you guys know, I have a Nintendo Switch too, and something that I'm very envious of is the hybrid model of the Switch, right? So again, just being able to play in your hands portable wise and then just dock it, right? You know, I've tried to use like eGPUs and other handhelds, and that just doesn't do it. So when I heard about the Steam machine, that's like all that I've ever wanted, right? Being able to have the Steam Deck for handheld, and then when I go home, something at home that I can just play my games on the TV. So this is awesome. And then the Steam Frame too, which I use XR glass, diversion, stuff like that. So that also being announced too with it, right? Now I can be in bed with that and play, my Steam games on it too. So it was an awesome announcement overall.
Yeah, that Steam Frame has my interest peaked, because I do have the MetaQuest 3 now.
Yeah, same.
I had the 2 prior, which, 3 is a big upgrade, but I wasn't really old enough or had the money when the original Steam VR came out. And the whole setup with the base station, so that you had the whole kind of room scale VR without, having fancy stuff in the monitors. It was all done by actual like sensors in the room. Really looked cool, and the stuff that you could do, but it kind of fizzled out by the time I was able to like afford it. And then obviously VR kind of went away, and now it's come back with all the MetaQuest headsets. So it's going to be really interesting to see where that Steam Frame sits in that kind of MetaQuest world versus the super high-end VR. But the fact that it has SteamOS built into it and can be Steam standalone as well as stream from like the Steam machine, or I guess a normal PC as well, is going to be really interesting to see how that plays out.
Right. So for those of you guys who are interested in the Steam Frame, we're going to do another whole video dedicated to that. In this video, we're going to just dive really deep into the Steam machine. But yeah, same here. Really excited for the Steam Frame as well. So let's talk about some of the speculations, the specs specifically for the Steam machine. What are your thoughts on the specs? Do you feel like it's powerful. Again, they announced that they're supposed to be able to do 4K 60 hertz via FSR frame generation, right? What are your thoughts about that? Do you feel like with the specs of that they announced that we'll be able to get that with most of the games that are on the Steam store right now?
Honestly, no. I have an RTX 3080 PC and I can't run most things at 4K.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to. I've got a 1440p monitor. I
Yeah.
run everything at that. And even then, it can't run stuff at a consistent 60 or 100 frames per second, high end FPS like Battlefield or other games. I can play Hades 2 at 320 FPS if I want at 1440p, but that's not really what that machine's for. So I think people do need to set their expectations for the Steam machine. And it probably is going to be mostly set at a 1080p upscaled to 4K type scenario. And I think that's where the Steam machine will thrive.
Yeah.
Because I think they originally said the spec is give performance around 6 times that of the Steam Deck.
Yes,
so
6 times, yeah.
If at 800p we can get 30 frames per second on Steam Deck, then we're probably looking at about 60 frames per second at around 1080p in Cyberpunk 2077. We call it TV magic for a laugh because the way that TVs upscale generally is so much better than anything like FSR or TAA.
Yeah.
The technology that's built into those screens does phenomenal work. So playing a game at 1080p, sat a few feet back, sat on your sofa, you're not going to notice that upscaling. You can get that 60 frames per second performance. And it's what people wanted out of the dockable experience with the Steam Deck that I just don't think people were ever able to really get there.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Now, something I've heard some people talk about who have talked about this is the fact that Valve is going to work with AMD to have FSR4 be something that helps them achieve this. What are your thoughts about that? And also using like frame generation as well to achieve this 4K 60 that they're saying this is going to be capable of?
I think some games it'll work well on, others not so much. It's no secret, especially for those who follow the channel and have done for some time, that I'm not a huge fan of FSR. Even FSR3 muddies the image massively. And when XeSS is available, even though it's more CPU intensive, obviously it doesn't have any dedicated kind of space on the chipsets for it, it generally produces a cleaner image with as good, if not slightly better performance in most situations. But again, taking a small hit on that performance to get that better image is definitely worth it in all the situations. So I really hope that FSR4 can at least be as good as XeSS 1.3 or 1.2, but so far I just haven't seen it. And I would much rather have a cleaner image without upscaling than have that blurriness. Especially in gorgeous games like Cyberpunk or The Witcher 3, you really don't want those muddy textures. So hopefully they can pull it off. And again, it's just people chasing 4K 60, and a lot of the times I think it's just why. Frame generation, same situation, right? It can introduce so much input latency that it just makes the game not enjoyable. So I'd much rather a stable game and it to feel responsive than to, hey, look, I've got 4K 60. Rather play it at 30, 40 frames per second and it be a solid experience.
Yeah. So I was watching some videos, Linus and other people got hands on this, and they recorded gameplay of it running, on a TV screen, and I have to say I wasn't impressed by the quality. So again, I too am concerned about how good this is going to look. It being, generated as well and using from generation instead of just being.
It's something we pride ourselves on the channel, right? We look for the best settings, not the best FPS, not the best looking always in that scenarios, but the best experience. So it's getting that balance. So, and I think we've perfected that pretty well for the Steam Deck. So we'll be looking to carry that over to the Steam machine as well, so that we can show the games off and those best settings for both the Steam Deck portable as well as that Steam Machine for that docked sofa experience.
For sure, for sure. So let's talk about pricing. This is something that a lot of people seem really interested in. Again, some people viewing this as a competitor to consoles. So again, just competing with the PS5 and the Xbox Series S's or X's, right? So if Valve is going to do that, they would have to price this as a way that rivals that or make it even less to have more of an appeal. My speculation is this is going to be anywhere from $450 to $500. The reason I say this is because, like we've seen with the Steam Deck, right? Valve normally is going to sell the hardware on the Steam store and not in stores. And with the Steam Deck, they were able to take a loss. That's why it's so cheap, right? Because again, they're making their sales and revenues from the Steam store. I think again, this is going to launch on the Steam store and they're going to price it aggressively too. So again, I'm thinking 450 to 500. If they do that,
Keep
I feel
dreaming.
like if they do that, I do feel like this can be a good competitor to the Series S and to the PS5. But what are your thoughts? Give me your thoughts on price point.
They've said they're not coming out to compete with the console. It's going to be priced as a PC, and that they're
No,
not expecting to take a loss on this one.
but they said entry-level PCs,
Yeah,
though.
right. Entry-level
And
PCs go anywhere between £500 and £1,000. So,
exactly,
that's
exactly.
$600 to $1,200. So,
No,
it's
I
quite a
think
price
that's too
range.
high. I think
So,
that's too high.
what I do think is, the Steam Deck came out as a passion project. They knew that
Mm-hmm.
they were going to take a loss, but they wanted to get and prove to the industry that there was a market for handheld games
Mm-hmm.
and handheld gamers. And look
Mm-hmm.
what happened since the Steam Deck came out. We've got the Ally X, the Claw, the Legion Goes, all the AO
Right.
Neo and One X player devices.
Mm-hmm.
And Valve's just kind of quietly sat there and just watched.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Mm-hmm.
making great sales with the Steam Deck and seeing where the industry goes. I think the next Steam Deck will be a massive generational leap.
Right.
But again, they want that low power, nice
Battery
experience. They're not in
consumption.
any
Yeah.
hurry like
Right.
all the other providers that are just trying to churn out these handhelds to
Yeah.
milk the market. Steam Machine's the same, right? If you look at the data,
Mm-hmm.
Steam has phenomenal amounts of data. They do the
Mm-hmm.
hardware survey every year. They've got those specs over the course of however, like 20, 30 years,
Mm-hmm.
watching the trend of the average kind of spec of people's gaming rigs and where they're playing. And if you look at the Steam Machine specs, it's smack bang in the middle. It hits the average kind of play experience right on the head.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to remember that this isn't for PC enthusiasts, because they're PC enthusiasts. They will go out and tweak and buy and fiddle and make their own PC. It's not for the console gamer. It's for the entry PC gamer. It's for the people who want to get into PCs but don't want to research all the PC stuff.
Okay.
They don't want to have to deal with Windows and all that setup and update rubbish. This is going to be a Steam Deck experience for a PC. I'm going to plug this box into my PC, pick up my controller, and within an hour, I'm going to be set up and installing and playing my games. And that's it. So if the new Xbox can give that experience, which we've not seen from the full screen experience so far on Xbox, it still took 2 or 3 hours to set up.
Yeah.
The Steam Deck takes, 30 minutes?
Right.
Tops?
To set up, yeah.
And get gaming. So I think the Steam Machine is going to completely change the way people look at it. But price-wise, I do think it's going to be 700-ish. And that's probably with a controller. So I'm expecting those controllers to at least be 100. So without a controller, you're probably looking at 600.
No, wow, that's too expensive. I think the controller is going to be anywhere from 60, top 70 with that. So I like what you're saying about like entry level for people who are, new to PCs, this being an easy way to access PC gaming for them. But I think it's bigger than that. I think Valve is interested in like really targeting Microsoft specifically. I think this is a jab towards Windows gaming and to, in a way, kind of take market share. You see Microsoft now with advertisement of everything's in Xbox, right? I feel like they're inching closer to Valve's territory with pretty much like making the Xbox Origin Ally, custom, was it the new UI with the Xbox
full screen experience,
full screen experience, right? Targeting SteamOS with that. I feel like with the next Xbox, they're saying it's going to be focused more geared towards like PC gaming, and I think in a way this is kind of a rebuttal to that, and in a way possibly to take market share from what Microsoft might be planning in general. But that's just my take with this, and I feel like they were able to make a dent with the Steam Deck, and possibly with this, right? They can take from desktop PCs market share. I know you're saying this is not but I feel like if this can make a dent, that also is going to, just put Microsoft in notice too. But I might be wrong. But that's my take.
That is part of the point. But unless Valve can solve the anti-cheat problem, or the industry can come round to Linux and Steam with the anti-cheat issues, there is always going to be a massive disconnect between SteamOS or Linux and Windows PC. So if Xbox comes out with a new full screen experience, Windows-based Xbox, and opens up their entire Xbox PC and console library on one device working, then Steam has got some serious competition. But the fact of the matter is, Steam has that experience in gaming kind of OS nailed, and Xbox are going to be playing a lot of catch up on that. Xbox have the library and the compatibility, so neither has outright kind of win over the other. But it's definitely good to see that competition, and competition drives the industry in gaming.
Right. I agree 100%. What are your thoughts about the advantage of this when you compare it to a console? Again, I don't know if you're comparing this to a console, but I know personally I am, right? I think something that we can point out here is if you want to get like a PlayStation 5 or Xbox, you have to pay for online. Right. With Steam, you don't have to worry about that, right? You can just play with your friends who have Steam. And also, your Steam library carries over, right? For instance, whenever a new console comes out, let's say the PS6, you have to worry about like purchasing new games, right? For the PS. Yes, it's like backwards compatibility, but mostly you would have to purchase new games, right? And then the Play Anywhere, right? You can play it on your new Steam machine, or you can play it on your Steam Deck, or if you have a desktop at home, you can just play it on there. So I feel like Steam with the Steam machine has a lot of advantage over consoles like the PS5 and the Xbox Series S and X. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, console-wise, I think the biggest advantage or comparison would be the library itself. I think I ran some figures recently, and people are actually bringing those figures down for especially the PlayStation and Xbox libraries to around 8,000 to 10,000 games available to those consoles that are supposedly higher quality titles. But I've seen complaints for both Xbox and PlayStation with asset flips and AI slot making it onto front page stores and stuff. I mean, Steam has over 17,000 free games.
Yeah.
And as you said, you don't need to pay to play online. Most of those aren't online anyway. And if you discounted half of them to say that they're AI slop or asset flip garbage, then that's still over 8,000 free-to-play titles that people can just pick up and play without spending a penny on Steam. And then you look at the library itself, again, it's around 113 or 130,000
That's
games
crazy, right?
available. Again, discount half of them,
Yeah.
discount 2/3 of them,
Yeah.
right? We're still looking at quadruple both the console libraries put together.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there is just so much more choice. And as you said, unless for whatever reason a developer goes out of business, those games are available to you for generations to come.
Exactly.
You know, I can still go pick up or play a game I bought 20 years ago on Steam and play it.
Right. So do you think like console makers should be threatened by the Steam machine? Do you think Sony and Microsoft, maybe even Nintendo at this point, do you think they should be concerned or worried about the Steam machine?
Well, I'm sure with Nintendo's history on emulation, they're going to be very scared of the Steam machine, considering the power of the device and everybody's appetite for emulation on SteamOS and Linux. So definitely. Xbox and PlayStation, again, Microsoft probably less so because most of their titles, well, I think I looked, there's only around 4,000 PC titles currently, but pretty much all of those, or a very large chunk of them, are available on Steam already. So I wouldn't think that they would worry too much. But all the console versions that aren't available on PC would be the exclusive rights. And obviously Sony's going to be holding on very tight to those exclusives once again to try and get people to buy their hardware. But again, I've been a PC gamer for a very long time. I can sit and wait to see if one of those exclusive games comes to PC. And if it doesn't, oh, well, I've got 10 times the library to go and choose another game. I can live with it. So, yes, they should be very scared.
Yeah, exactly. Like you were saying, you've seen Sony and Microsoft port in the games to PC. And again, if you have a Steam machine, you can now play the first-party studio games on your new console, if you want to call it that. All right, so on a scale of 0 to 10, how excited are you for the Steam machine?
I'd probably have to say a tentative 7 to 8 because it's a really cool device to get my hands on, but I already have a PC, so I'm not really the target market for this device.
Right.
But I definitely will be testing it out and obviously doing stuff for the channel. And to pair it with the Steam Deck, I'll be very interested to see how much better it can be for powering something like the Steam Frame. But more importantly, I just want to see what that kind of on the TV experience is and how that out of box experience is with it. But hopefully they get that price right, because that price could really temper how excited you are about it, right? Because if it does come out at 500, everybody's going to lose their right, and it's going to be a free for all. But if it comes out at 800, it's going to make people a lot more reserved. But I still think it's going to sell a ton.
Yeah. I do think price is important. For me, myself, I'm at an 8, right? I'm a console gamer. I've always gamed on consoles. I gamed on PS5, Xbox Series X. And again, like I said in the beginning, I've been hoping for a hybrid for the Steam Deck. And so this is everything that I've ever wanted. And also with this being, like they're saying, 6 times more powerful than the Steam Deck, I want to tinker with this. And something that we've seen with the Steam Deck community is they create awesome stuff for the Steam Deck. You're talking about like Deckulo, the plugin. You're talking about bringing, again, lossless scale into the Steam Deck. Can you imagine the new things that we'll see the community create for this machine, right? It has me excited. My biggest gripe would be anti-cheat, but Valve said, right, the hope with this is for this to do well, to where it will start making devs second guess, not bring in the anti-cheat games here. So hopefully this cracks that to where we'll see games with anti-cheat actually come to SteamOS, right? This can bridge that window, and hopefully we'll get those games in the Steam Deck as well. But yeah, I'm really excited about this. Again, price is important here, but I feel like if they can nail the price, my goodness, they're gonna have something brilliant here. But yeah, fellas, that's all that we have for the Steam Machine for now. We're going to have more videos about the Steam Machine. Again, we're going to have another video talking about the Steam Frame and the Steam Controller. So if you guys were interested, definitely stay tuned for those videos as well. Chief, do you have anything you want to say before we exit out?
Exciting times for Steam in general, and for gamers. There's been such a shift in the industry and the hardware over the last couple of years to be able to play the game. So very excited, and thanks for watching.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.